All right, let's stay with water issues. Efforts are underway to increase the bulk water allocation to the rainwater system. This is to help with the water issues in Gauteng. Now, Water and Sanitation Minister Senzo Mchunu says this is an emergency measure to assist the province's metros, districts and local municipalities. Now, infrastructure and maintenance issues have also been raised for years now, and this has also put, of course, the safety of drinking water at risk. And we'll be in conversation with Dr. Phillips, the DG, in fact, at Water and Sanitation Department. But for now, let's speak to Ayesha Laher, who's the environmental scientist and AHL Water Director, Benoît Leroy, who is with the South African Water, who's the South African Water Chamber CEO. Thank you so much to you both for your time. I'll begin with you, Benoît, because there's been a lot that has been said about what we are seeing happening here in Gauteng. Some are saying that this is a self-created crisis. Others are saying, in fact, it is genuine. It was bound to come at some point. I wonder, where are you leaning towards?
So to me, it's a perfect storm. 20 years ago, we said this would happen, and the conditions were ideal last week, and we had quite a good lead up. So firstly, we have a leaking bucket. So and Rand Water's numbers confirm this, but we have non-revenue water. 90% of it is physical leaks in the country, and that's from Department of Water Sanitation. So every 100 litres of water that Rand Water delivers, 41 litres is not delivered to the end user. So the system is leaking. We call it the leaking bucket syndrome in layman's terms. So when Rand Water was pumping 4,900 megalitres a day, 4.9 billion litres a day, 2,000 megalitres a day were being lost in the system, in the municipal system, not in the consumer. So using again Rand Water's numbers divided by their 17 million people they supply and taking off the 40%, we get to below 180 litres per person per day. Take off 10 to 20% because of industry and commerce, and you'll see we are well below the global average. So this is the elephant in the room. We have a leaking bucket, and whatever extra water we put in, it leaks more. More pressure, the more it leaks. These are fundamental thermodynamics. However, what has been happening is we must look for scapegoats. We must look at our infrastructure in our cities. And this infrastructure, a lot of it was way past its design duty 20 years ago already, even a little bit more. Now, having said that, what happens is when you have load shedding, you are unable to recharge the system, and everybody is subject to load shedding. And the system wasn't designed to be load shed in any event. So what happens is you are unable to actually, and we had serious load shedding, to fill up the reservoirs. Then Rand Water, in that particular week, also had some outages related to electrical faults, which could have been a combination of load shedding. Our grid is really struggling. Plus we had very, very hot weather, which we've been having the last couple of years in October. It tends to be quite hot. So you add that all together, and what happens, the system collapses. It collapses because it's vulnerable. So, the last straw that broke the camel's back was actually the load shedding. And everybody is now trying to find somebody to blame. And generally speaking, we're trying to blame Rand Water. Look, we're all in it. Blaming people is going to get us absolutely nowhere. If the system did not leak like this, and the reason it leaks is because it's old. What happens is when it collapses and air gets in, we need to keep the system wet. When the air gets in, when we recharge it, it's not designed to be recharged. You're supposed to scour it, for example, etc. We would need 2 million workers to do that. So what happens? The system starts bursting and the light. So the system is not like electrons, electricity. It's not designed to be switched on and off. It's supposed to be switched on and kept on forever until ever. And that's a whole,
Listening to that, then, I suppose you won't be surprised by the minister saying that South Africa is experiencing a scarcity of water, yet we allow for up to 40% of our water to be lost to leakage. And this undermines the efforts of trying to address any of the challenges. Now, Ayesha, where are the bottlenecks then in dealing with this issue of the leakages? Because as Benoît puts it, it's quite succinct and you can see where the true issue also lies.
Thanks, Mangiba, and thanks, Benoît, for that introduction. I agree that we have to deal with non-revenue water. According to the Department of Water and Sanitation and the National Water Act, a municipality is required to draw up a water balance of their system. And a water balance is a very simple diagram that says what goes in, what goes out, how much do you bill, how much losses do you have, and in doing that, you calculate your non-revenue water. Municipalities are supposed to do this on an annual basis and submit this information to the Department of Water and Sanitation. If you take that non-revenue water balance, that water balance of a municipality, you will be able to exactly see how much losses there are. I don't know what the situation is in Johannesburg, but that is a very easy way for them to understand what is the root cause of the losses. Is it because of leakages? Is it because that's real losses? So they need to implement then leak detection and replacement of the aging infrastructure. If it's due to meter inaccuracies or lack of billing, then they have to implement the appropriate measures. That means they have to remove illegal connections. They have to improve the efficiency, the metering efficiency. They have to ensure that they collect all of the revenue. If it is high water usage, then you can identify that easily. If you draw up a water balance and you have bulk meters in specific areas, you would identify there's amount of people that are fed by this particular reservoir. Okay, how much water is going in there, and estimate what is the current usage. By doing that, the city and any other municipality will be able to identify which area is using more water than the other, and to identify then what is the root cause. So there is many guidelines written on how to identify the root cause of the non-revenue water, how to address that, and how to fix that. What is the current measures that municipalities are implementing to address this?
Yeah,
I cannot answer to that. But
Ayesha,
I think we need to ask that question.
Ayesha, listening then to what you're saying, it's because there's been quite a lot of focus on the usage. So are you saying that it's not measured as correctly as it should be right now? So the picture that we're seeing may not be necessarily the truer one?
It depends on what picture municipality has. If they have bulk systems, if they have bulk meters in place or regional meters in place, it's easy to extrapolate that with the usage, and then to identify which areas got high losses and lower losses. When the city of Cape Town was experiencing the drought in 2018, they went and identified which are the high water users. They did water audits to the high-end users to see how can we reduce your water consumption. They identified which users are exceeding the limits and actually took punitive measures against that. We do not know what the situation is right now. But yes, water losses is one of the issues. We were operating on the brink of a failure, so we could not have the load shedding, the heat, and all of those factors contributing at the same time, which has led to this water scarcity. So it's a number of problems.
Sure.
And yes, we need a multi-pronged approach to stop this from happening in
now,
the future.
Benoît, one of the things that, we also seeing of concern as well is that, we're seeing various studies that say, some say tap water is safe to drink in most urban areas, but the concern is the raw water sources, such as the streams, the rivers, the dams, and given some of the high levels of E. coli in one form of bacteria and another, which may pose a serious health risk. We also are looking at this from the lens of, the blue drop and the green drop reports that also tell us where the problem areas are. I wonder, though, if our tap water currently is safe to drink, would you say?
Well, there's two things one must look at. There's a common factor in that 97% of municipal sewage works do not comply to the green drop report, which is a very low hurdle. It's 90%. It should be 98, 99%. 97 don't. Local government or municipality. Non-revenue water in Johannesburg today was quoted in the provincial legislature at 43%. 90% of it is physical leaks. So it's 39. Okay, so it's as close as to the 40. So it's a little bit above the national average. So we've got a common factor here, which is local government, where GDP is generated. So, we shouldn't be surprised. Now, having said this, there's two issues with water quality. Firstly, the raw water quality, we are putting in sewage into it, and it is not designed, so even Rand Water's plant is not designed for direct reuse. We call it direct reuse. It's not designed for that, be a triple barrier system, including membranes and the like. So we are potentially being compromised, and the amount of available water in our reserves, in our storage bank, in our battery, is reduced directly by the proportion of sewage. Now, when the system runs dry, we can't keep it wet in the town because of load shedding and all the likes. What happens is the biofilm that's inside of these bulk mains gets disturbed, We get ingress through the leaks when we get reverse pressure and all the likes. Now we're unable to actually guarantee that the quality of the water, especially microbiologically, is going to be acceptable. Now, this is not measured online. This is measured sporadically and all the likes. So we're having a long bitching session here and all the likes. What's the solution? The solution is the technology exists. It's not a technology issue here. And Johannesburg Water's number is 23 billion, and they spend less than $1 billion a year. They need 23 billion to reinstate their water delivery and the sewage conveyance system. Don't forget, 70% of the water comes into town has to go out of sewage. So we mustn't forget that also gets affected. Okay, it'll surcharge and back up if we don't get it out the system. So that money is not there for various reasons. So these are symptoms of economic policy issues that we have. But we have to address the technology exists to have live. We've got smartphones. Virtually everybody's got a smartphone. There's 80 million phones, but there's not 80 million households who have got, it's about 20 million households, I think, in South Africa, who've got running water. So we've got more cell phones with running water. So let's just look at our priorities. Food is a human right. It's not for free. Water, 59% of the households don't pay for it. Everybody needs to pay something to lubricate the system.
Sure.
Otherwise, we land up where we're at now. And where we're at now is quite a dangerous thing because the water quality within our network, we should be able to see live. We call it digitization. We should be able to see live what is available in our reservoirs, in our district measurement areas, so in our regions. And also we should be able to see there are very smart sensors available now. Doesn't have to go to the laboratory, what the water quality is. So short term, apart from what the minister's doing, which is 100% correct, we have to boost the leaking buckets just to try and keep our economy alive. What we also need to do is to enter into the digital era that the rest of the world is doing, and the water sector moves very quickly, so that we're able to have a live dashboard. And also we have to break this, what is the truth? Everybody's asking what's the truth. When you digitize, you have an immutable center of the truth. And then people will start believing what's being told and all the likes. Like with the Eskom app, we know when we're going to be shed and all the likes. Whether you like it or not, we know when it's pretty accurate. Well, we can do exactly the same with water. And I think that way we're going to buy ourselves a little bit of time to be able to redesign the architecture because our water architecture is dysfunctional. And we can say what we want, the results we sit with now, with water shedding and load shedding.
Listening to you, Benoît, the team is already upset that we're talking about shedding, possible shedding, and that could, be able to help. I wonder what the viewers think. But we're out of time. Ayesha, I'm going to give you just about 20 seconds. Let's talk about, the fact that in April we saw the opening of 3 sluice gates, after a huge amount of inflows in the Val Dam and all of that, and others saying that, why can't we get water from the Val Dam? Because we saw this happening in April this year. So where are we with that particular process?
The problem is not the amount of water that is coming through the treatment plant. You can put as much as water as you want to, but if the treatment plant is at capacity, you cannot put it over capacity because that will negatively influence the quality. Secondly, we have not upgraded the pipelines and the reservoirs reticulation network. So you can only put so much water through. You can bring more water in, but how do you push it through and deliver it when your reticulation network is then restricted? We need to upgrade our reticulation network to ensure that everybody can get access to water. So you need to know the numbers, you need to know how much people there are, what your consumption is, and can your network and your reservoirs accommodate the increase in that. You cannot just open a tap and expect more water to come through. I just want to add the last comment, what Benoît said. We can have automated level indicators on all our reservoirs. That is old technology that will tell us exactly what the level is in each reservoir. And there should be alarms set at these levels. When the level of the reservoir reaches 30%, automatically an alarm will go off to inform the municipality that one needs to now, if the pumps needs to switch on because that reservoir is now running low. This is old technology. It should be put in place so that the reservoir does not run dry. It's very easy to do that. And I would advocate that we would have a dashboard to show what the levels of the reservoirs are in the city of Johannesburg and all other metros so that we can understand what the levels are. And in doing so, we can then change our patterns as well, like the Eskom dashboard. If you understand that the reservoir is low, can we please cut down on consumption because there is an issue till the reservoir gets filled again and until we get with the new reservoirs.
Let me thank you both for your time this afternoon. Do appreciate it. I wish we speak again. As Benoît says, we need to also focus more on solutions now. Thank you so much to you both for your time. Ayesha Laher, Environmental Scientist, AHL Water Director, and Benoît Leroy, South African Water Chamber CEO.